Hey friends, my name's Joe Mann, and I'm here to share with you the steps that my wife and I are taking. We've recently been asked by Destiny Rescue to take over the responsibility of country manager in Cambodia. And for months we'd been praying about what the Lord would have us do. We thought we were going to another country in Asia, but it turns out we were needed most in Cambodia. And so the Lord used different things, like in the life of Paul, where God used persecution, various hardships to change his direction. Even though he thought he was going to one place, he ended up going to another. And so we used these circumstances to help us to take steps to where we're going. My wife had been exposed to the topic of human trafficking about 10 years ago, and about 5.5 years ago, she was hired on with Destiny Rescue, helped in the administrative areas, and she's been able to go to Cambodia 3 times. I've been there 1 time with Destiny Rescue, and the Lord really touched our hearts on those trips to make us willing to go wherever the Lord would have us go. And so he's been molding our hearts, shaping our hearts, challenging us to do the various steps. And we know in the Bible that it says in the book of James that God cares about the orphan. He cares about the widow, and he says that pure and undefiled religion is caring for these people. And so God put a deep care and concern on our hearts, specifically for the millions of kids right now who are being trafficked in different parts of the world. I want to use this as a platform to be able to update our friends, but also be able to give some new information to new people who are maybe being exposed for the first time to issues concerning human trafficking. Human trafficking is the illegal trade of humans against their will for the purpose of sexual exploitation, organ harvesting, or forced labor. This is modern slavery. Right now, there are actually more slaves on the earth than at any other time in human history. From the 1400s to the 1900s, it's estimated that there were 13 million people who were trapped in slavery. However, today, right now, it's estimated that there are over 40 million people trapped in slavery. Much of what we know, much of what I thought I knew, I had pastored for 25 years. I thought I knew quite a bit about life and what was going on, but I had no clue about human trafficking. So what you might know could be false as it relates to human trafficking and people that are being trafficked, even in this community in Indiana and other parts of the United States. It's happening all over the United States in various forms and in various ways. It's imperative that you become more aware. Traffickers will use various kinds of technology, all kinds of apps. Our own daughter, a few years ago, was targeted by a trafficker from Florida. And because we were aware and what was going on, we were able to stop that situation. But video gaming, parents need to be aware. Right now, thousands of kids are being trafficked in the United States. It's estimated between 14,000 to 17,000 kids are being brought across the border on our southern border and are sold into trafficking situations. Right now, you might go to lunch and the kid next to you, the kid that you pass in the mall, might be a kid that's being trafficked. There are no 1 or 2, 3 things you can look for. You have to get educated. You have to be informed. There are many ways that traffickers manipulate kids and get them into these horrible situations. We're benefited and blessed as a nation to be able to call 911. We are in a Judeo-Christian country where right now millions and millions of dollars are being spent by various law enforcement agencies to stop trafficking. And If you see something happening within your neighborhood, within your child's school or wherever, you can call 911. I worked for Child Protective Services for a period of time, and I was an investigator, and I would be sent out week after week to investigate various circumstances. So if you see something, say something. But if you notice on this slide that it's 2 to 3% of all human trafficking is happening in the United States. While that's a significant issue and it's a serious problem, it reminds us that another 97% of all human trafficking is happening outside of the United States. That's what brings us to Destiny Rescue. Destiny Rescue chooses to focus on those parts of the world where human trafficking is at its largest forms. Destiny Rescue is one of the few agencies that sends workers, and that's what Tami and I will be doing, going into these places to help rescue kids. As far as the statistics, human trafficking is the fastest growing illegal enterprise in the world, bringing in over $90 billion a year. It's beyond weapons, beyond drugs, because you can sell a person multiple times. Trafficking happens for these various reasons: forced labor, forced marriage, sex trafficking, child sex trafficking, organ harvesting. And as far as it relates to sex trafficking, 99% are female. So try to wrap your head around that. Right now, every hour, 120 new children are going to be forced into child sex trafficking. And in the context of that, can you imagine if there was 120 new children every hour being admitted into the hospital because of having obtained COVID? It would be the only thing you'd hear on the news. But yet these children, every hour, every day, every week, every month, new kids being brought in to child trafficking. We find that 7 out of every 10 kids are being trafficked in Asia. This area where the red arrow is, that's the area where my wife and I are going to be going. Destiny Rescue, as I mentioned, sends rescue agents into these dark places, undercover, doing reconnaissance, seeking to find the places where these kids are being exploited and abused. And so we train our workers to go into these dark places, how to record, how to do all of the informational things in order that we might be able to maybe work with the law enforcement, or we do the rescues on our own. This is a picture of a 4-year-old being brought out by a man and a woman. We had asked for the youngest that they had, and they brought out this 4-year-old. By the next day, we were able to get her out. This is sisters, a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old, who were rescued not long ago out of a place. And so this is happening in different places of the world, and it's disgusting, it's despicable, it's horrible. But yet one of the things that we know is that getting a kid out of these horrific situations doesn't end there. There has to be a pathway towards restoration. Restoration is part of the healing process, and so we seek to establish aftercare opportunities, safe accommodations, health services, daily needs that are met, mentoring caseworkers. We try to set them on a track for educational and vocational training opportunities, and where possible, we try to hook them up and connect them with the church, because in many of these countries that are third world, there's not churches everywhere, and so we have to be discreet about it, and we do as best as we can. Part of what Tami and I are going to be doing is helping to oversee all of those dimensions of the work there in Cambodia, seeing all of these things happen, whether it's the rescues or the restoration. And our goal is reintegration, helping these kids find independence so that they can work on their own and be able to serve in the places where they have. You can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, following Destiny Rescue. There's regular updates as to how many kids get rescued that particular week. And also you can look up Joe or Tami Mann on Facebook, and we'll be communicating. And we have our own private group where we can communicate more specific information to individuals that way. Last year, over 1,426 kids were rescued. In all, since Destiny Rescue's been established, over 5,000 kids have been rescued through the works, through the efforts, through the prayers. And part of our cry, part of our hearts is we want to be a part of a generation that ends human trafficking. Everybody has to respond to that call in different ways. Prayer is critical, and giving is critical. When I first began to understand and comprehend what was actually happening, Tammy and I, we threw ourselves in and we said, we want to be a part of ending this. And it worked out for us to be able to take the next step, which is to go. And as you can see on this map, this is Southeast Asia where we're going. It's Cambodia. Cambodia is a very broken country in many ways. It's one of the poorest countries, one of the poorest nations on the earth. And right now, in the mid-'70s, I should say, there were over 2 million people that were killed through genocide. There's a group called Pol Pot. They went in and exterminated most of all the Christians, either were killed or they fled the country during this time frame. If you wore glasses, if you were a lawyer, a doctor, or whatever, they killed everybody. They wanted everybody to live in a farmer's mode, and so that they can control the people. And then after 1979, the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong, came in and took over the country for about 6 years. And so this country is still reeling and still healing from all of the difficulty that's happening. Because of the poverty, because of the genocide, it makes this place a prime target for human trafficking to take place. There are bars, there are brothels in the cities, on the countryside. You can go from store to store to store, and there's people being exploited and abused there. And so we ask you, my friend, to pray, to become more aware about what's going on with human trafficking, but also to pray for us, because we are about a month away of being able to step into the airport and be able to travel there. We've got some visa issues that we're working through right now. But this is a way that you can sign up for our newsletter. It's Joe Tami, T-A-M-I, Mann, M-A-N-N, at gmail.com. There's our phone number there on the screen if you want to contact us for any reason. And then also, if you're interested in supporting us, we have a missionary support base that handles all of our accounting and all of our finances. It's EquipNet, EQUIPNET.org. You can go there, and there's a whole list of missionaries. You could go to our page specifically, Joe and Tami Mann, and it gives you all of the instructions as to how you could give that way. But most of all, my friend, I ask you to pray for us. We're going to some difficult, dark area of the world, and we're not going to have all of the connections of our friends and our family right near us. And so we're going to be going through a lot of transition. And so I ask you to please pray for us and stand with us in that way. It's valued. It's valued. And I just want to say thank you so much for listening to this. Share this with your friends. Share it with somebody else who wants to know a little bit more maybe about human trafficking. And anybody who has any questions, please feel free to contact us. Thank you.